and welcome back to Radio Free Urbanism. My name is Alex Williams, and I am one of your hosts today, beamed down to you through the interwebs. And I'm, of course, joined by my dear friends, Nick Laporte. Say
hello.
Hi. And Ethan Myers.
Welcome back, you beautiful people.
That's so true. These are beautiful people. All of our listeners, compliments for you. Please rain compliments back in the chat, in the comments. This is Radio Free Urbanism. We talk about urbanism and stuff. It's a podcast, but it's also a live show. If you're a Patreon subscriber, a patron, as they like to be known, you can actually catch us live at 4 p.m. Mountain Time on the internet. If you go to patreon.com/radiofreeurbanism, you can find out how to check us out there. In the live chat today, we've got Skitch and Austin already checking in. So we're excited for this show.
And
we're
Alex,
to have you guys.
How much is it to join the live chat?
It's like $1. It's $1 a month.
It's $1 a month? That's
That's
pretty.
like 25 cents a show.
Honestly,
some months 20 cents.
Honestly, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. That is what we call a great frickin' deal. So yeah, if you want to do that, you can check us out at patreon.com/radiofreeurbanism.
Go.
We don't have a website, and we probably never will. No real reason to have one. We're just a few dudes. So, anyways, let's get into the show. Nick, do you have any updates for us? Anything you want to share up at the top here?
I don't think so, but you do.
I do, in fact, and that is the Rio Grande Plan. We've talked about the Rio Grande Plan before. We had Christian Lenhart on as a special guest on a bonus episode. That was a ton of fun. Honestly, we should probably have him back. I actually really enjoyed chatting with him. He has a lot of really good insights into transit and planning in general. Yeah, he's got this Rio Grande Plan, and they've got like a whole team of people working on this and passionate about this. It's a plan in Utah to put the train in a train box and revitalize the station and the area around that station, the Rio Grande Station in Salt Lake City, Utah. So it is a must check out. And I will put in the comments in the description of this show a little a petition that they're wanting people to sign to kind of help keep the traction going, because it is a really big project and it has really important eyes on it, but we need to continue building that momentum so that people know about it. So I'm going to throw that down there. I just wanted to say that up at the top of the show, make sure that gets some visibility here this summer. Ethan, do you have any updates, any thoughts?
Nothing but train good and car bad. You know, the standard.
The show's over now, folks.
The show's over.
Exactly, the show's
Feet
over.
First.
The show is not over.
The show is not over. We're just getting started here today. Nick's got our first story with us, though. Nick, take us away.
This is coming from Toronto, my old stomping grounds, and it's kind of taken over the whole scene when it comes to cycling in Toronto. So I think I mentioned this last week. I'm not sure if I did. Anyway, there was another cyclist who died recently, just a few weeks ago, and it's become the deadliest year for cyclists in a long time in Toronto. So what happened was there's a lot of bike lanes in Toronto that are just your basic gutter bike lanes, a strip of paint with nothing there between you and the traffic beside you. Well, what happened, as happens many times every single day, is that a company put their dumpster bin in the bike lane, and a young woman of 24 years old moved around this obstruction to continue on, and she went into the traffic, and from behind, a large truck, I think it was a dump truck or something like that, hit her, and she sadly passed away. It's a terrible tragedy, but it happens over and over and over and over again. So what happened was, as often does, people came together to put up a ghost bike for this poor woman who passed away, and a lot of people came out. It was an absolutely massive turnout of people who came, including the mayor, and I'm just going to show some pictures here. And that's always wonderful to see, but what we really want to see are changes to our environment to make it better, because it is really sad when things like this happen and nothing is being done about it. So what's happened now is that I've been following the subreddits for Toronto and Toronto biking, I think it's called, not cycling. And it's day after day. People are posting pictures of trucks, cars, dumpsters in the bike lane, obstructing the bike lane, creating hazard for cyclists wanting to use those lanes. And this picture I'm showing right now is that actual ghost bike. And you can see right behind this ghost bike is another truck parked right in the lane where she was killed. So it's just really disheartening to see. And the whole reason I wanted to bring this up is to bring up the discussion. And it's something that I posed in the subreddit a few days ago, and someone else had just put a whole post about this particular subject, is should the city be responsible, right, in these type of situations? So we see that there's a problem, right? And we've talked about this subject before in certain ways, but they see that there's a problem. People are being killed on the streets from something that can be addressed, and it's not being addressed. So when this happens again, who's responsible? Can someone sue the city? Can the family sue the city for not fixing the problems in these situations? Who is responsible? Is it just the company? Are they getting a small fine? Apparently this company that put that dumpster there is getting a fine of $200 as long as they pay it on time. $200. That's how much somebody's life's worth. $200. It's really sickening.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I want to just talk about. What do you guys think? Who should be responsible financially, legally, whatever, in situations like this where a problem has been seen, not being addressed, and it keeps becoming a problem where people are getting hurt or killed on the streets? What do you guys think?
Ethan, you can go ahead if you've got some thoughts.
Yeah, so, I mean, it really does come down to our absolute lack of infrastructure and then the lack of proper management and care when it comes to our infrastructure. A lot of the times, you'll get a protected bike lane in a city, but within 3 months, it's already full of garbage, and that's because we don't maintain our existing infrastructure. And when cities don't do that, you start getting this issue of, people will be brazen. They'll start parking in the bike lanes. They'll start blocking the bike lanes, because as Austin just said in chat here, it's in quotation marks, it's okay, I'll just be a minute. And that's just a phrase that a lot of people use to idle in bike lanes or to store stuff in bike lanes, when realistically these should be spaces to get people from point A to point B. And when cities can't keep these spaces safe, they should be held accountable to some degree when it comes to it. And the people who do block these bike lanes absolutely should be held accountable, and an actual accountability and not just a $200 fine. Because for anybody who does that and we just see some sort of reaction like this, it's honestly, it's so underwhelming. It really just does show that bikes and micromobility in general is just not a priority of the city and the city's leadership. It's really disheartening to see things like this happen. And unfortunately, it's just all too common of an occurrence nowadays. But, I mean, it really, doing things like ghost bikes and holding vigils and doing events like Critical Mass are really starting to shift the momentum on this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
one thing I wanted to mention with this, we're talking about responsibility and liability. Now, in the Netherlands, I learned this from my Netherlands video, some of the comments that I got on there from Dutch people, was talking about who's liable in a traffic incident, in a collision. And apparently there is some liability put on the government or the organization or the company that maintains that particular road. That's why when you go to the Netherlands, their roads are so nice. They're nice to drive on. They're nice to bike on. They're really, really well taken care of because they take this responsibility seriously. They realize the impact that infrastructure has on people. And if you're putting a dumpster in the middle of a bike lane and there's not a safe detour created, that I think there should be some liability there because you have obstructed the way. And for people who think, maybe she should have paid more attention, or maybe whatever, right? Like you're kind of thinking of ways to justify and be like, actually no, it's not their fault. Like it's not the dumpster company, it's not the city, it's actually just the individual's fault. If you're looking to victim blame, I want you to think about your kids getting around the city. I want you to think about your kids, your nieces and nephews. I want you to think about your grandparents getting around the city. and really consider, like, if this happened to them, would you blame them? And when we build bike lanes, when we talk about cycling infrastructure, because remember, like, okay, so you can get your learner's license at 14 and you can get your driver's license at 16, but then can you afford a car? Can your parents afford to get you a car, right? And then what happens when you get older and maybe you aren't allowed to drive anymore or aren't physically or mentally able to drive anymore? Like, think about that. We're talking about how to get around our cities, but the whole time we're delegitimizing one of the most freeing ways to actually do that. And then when people choose to do that, because it is accessible, because it is more affordable than having to own a car or take a taxi or Uber, right? Or somebody's choosing to do it for like a health lifestyle choice, whatever. Because of that, we punish that. And the consequence is death, right? Like, we have the death penalty, and it's if you're riding a bike and not driving a car. That, like, why, you know, are we criminalizing this action? And are we treating, like, our kids and our elderly, like the people who use this mode of transportation to get around because it is more freely available to them, or people who are less fortunate financially than many of us in our cities, right? Are we penalizing them for that? Are we criminalizing them for that? And again, is the penalty death? Is that the deal? Is that the city you want to live in?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's like you said, we see in the Netherlands and the way that they address their streets and how much safer they are. It's outrageous how safe they are. Like, you think about how safe Japan is. You're like, oh, Japan's a very safe place. Pretty safe place to get around on two wheels even. It's twice as dangerous as the Netherlands. Like, and the USA is 5 times as dangerous as the Netherlands on the streets. It's crazy. And another point you made was about who to blame, and thinking about blaming the person, the cyclist or the driver in this case, but either one that goes deeper. That goes to the whole way we see people just moving around in general, not just on bicycles. You see this over and over and over. Anytime you watch a YouTube video or a short where there's a car crash, look in the comments. It's just filled with people. Who's the moron? Who messed up, right? It's always blaming somebody in the situation, but it's never talking about the infrastructure and the way we build our cities to make them safer, inherently safer, right? So, yeah, I personally think that first off, the city needs to more aggressively ticket people blocking the bike lanes, like really aggressive, like up that fine by 10 times and just start handing them out like candy. That's first and foremost. Second of all, if this is happening in a certain place and it's happened over and over, then it's like, okay, we haven't fixed this problem. The city should be liable. And that's not what I want to do. It's not like you want to basically take the taxpayers' money, but like they have to have some kind of incentive or at least a punishment for not doing the right thing and making the thing better.
Yeah, at this point, I mean, we have to realistically think about options like that in order to actually ensure that our streets are safe, because, I mean, realistically, handing out a $200 fine is not going to do anything to anyone. For a $200 fine for quite literally killing a cyclist.
That might be cheaper than the permit to put the thing down.
Yeah, no, seriously, that 100% is. It's insane. Absolutely insane. And the fact that we let people get away with this is just ridiculous. I mean, I say it practically every episode at this point. If you want to get away with committing a crime, do it in a car.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the best way to commit a crime. It's insane. Oh, man.
Yeah. And I think the most frustrating part about this is we know already how to do this. Like, it's not a secret. It's not like we're not going on some wizard quest with Indiana Jones to like uncover the secrets of how to build safe infrastructure, right? Like whether and we're not just talking about cycling infrastructure. We're talking about pedestrian infrastructure, cycling infrastructure. We're talking about driving infrastructure, because when you're on the highway, you're facing the same threat, right? If your car, if you haven't kept up with the arms race that is bigger, stronger, tougher cars, you're hooped, you're screwed.
Yeah.
Right? Me driving around in my little 99 Corolla, right? It's nothing compared to, I've got a cousin who has a truck The hood comes up to my height. I'm 5'7". Like, it comes right up to my height. And that's totally fine, totally cool. No extra permit, no extra, like, nothing. That's just totally, yeah, sure, take it. That's easy.
Yeah.
Right? And so, you know, and because of this is an issue that we see on all three levels of government, right? We see it on the federal government because the provincial and municipal government can't do anything to say anything about how a car needs to be built in order to, you know, use their roads, right? That's a federal jurisdiction thing. And then the provincial government is concerned with the licensing processes, right? And then the municipal government, we deal a lot with the building of this infrastructure. It's an all three levels of government thing that we need to have a serious conversation about what is the point of this infrastructure. And the point of this infrastructure is always to get people where they're going safely and efficiently, right? And that can be with bikes, buses, cars, walking, trains, right? We want a variety of options in our cities. But if some of those options are being actively discouraged through death, then we're doing it completely wrong. Totally wrong.
Yeah, and always blaming the drivers or whoever, the victims of this problem. Yeah,
normally the cyclist or pedestrian.
Yeah. Something we saw just today, my wife was watching the news and I saw in passing, is that last month, July 2024, was the most dangerous month in over 10 years in BC for fatalities on the streets, which is crazy because what's been happening is there's been a slow decline of fatalities in this province, at least on the streets. And I think the correlation, not causation, but one reason for that is just how bad the congestion is on the highways. Slower traffic, less dangerous. And people say, oh, man, I saw a comment the other day, like, speed doesn't kill, it's the distracted drivers. I'm like, you could be driving at 30 kph and be on your phone the whole time. You're probably not going to kill anybody. The speed is a huge factor in that. But back to the Toronto thing, is the thing I love about this is just to see how hard the community is coming together. Not just the cycling community. We're seeing this citywide. People are getting interested in this. I'm hoping this really has a groundswell, grassroots effort to make the city better when it comes to cycling. Like I said, they already have a mayor who's interested in cycling. She was there at this vigil. She bikes to work. I'm surprised we haven't seen huge movements when it comes to cycling infrastructure. But again, I don't know how much power she has to make that happen. But one video I did see, and it's worth checking out, was somebody confronting the Toronto police parked in the bike lane in front of a Starbucks getting a coffee. It was great. He was just like not letting him go. He's like, why are you parked here? You're having a coffee break. You said you've been working 10 hours. That doesn't matter. You're making the streets less safe. And it ended with this one police officer giving him the finger from her window, which was very satisfying. No defense, basically, right?
Yeah. I think in any circumstance, like it's not an excuse, right? Like Austin said in the chat, like, I'll just be a minute. That's all it takes.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
Go park somewhere else, or, you know, get a permit. Like, if you need, like, if there has to be a detour somewhere. Recently there have been a couple detours on bike routes in Calgary that I've ridden. And they were safe, you know, like safe-ish, right? Put on quiet streets and, you know, followed along with pylons and stuff, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't just kind of like blocked and then good luck out there, right? Detours is something that we can do, and they're always going to be, I think, suboptimal when you create a detour, but trying to create safe infrastructure and continuity is a big deal.
That's something that gets forgotten a lot of the time, is the detours when there's construction happening for cycling. Like you said, sometimes it's some kind of detour route where you have to go a few blocks away and find your way around there. In Vancouver, sometimes that's the case. Sometimes it's an actual separated lane in the sense of they'll put pylons down for a bike lane, which is nice. But sometimes it's just, hey, dismount and walk. Come on. Who's going to do that? We have to follow the human nature. People don't do that. They don't. And that creates problems. And that's something I saw in the Netherlands, which is just fantastic alternatives. I rode one. I have it on camera too. I'm sure it'll be one of my videos, but they had built an actual asphalt path around a country house for cyclists. Like, they're like, yes, we need to make sure you have a safe way to continue, because you're not going to be going on this narrow country road and share it with cars. Yeah. So
yeah, it really is that alternatives, and especially, getting networks up and available. Because, once you get those networks, then you get more alternatives. And yeah, detours on routes absolutely would be great, but unfortunately it's just something we don't do.
Yeah. Also, maybe as a last note on this one before we get to Ethan's story, I want to mention, we're in a little bubble here, right? The people in the live chat are obviously gonna rah yeah everything that we say, and most of the people, if you're spending already 20 minutes into this podcast, if you're here for that much time already, you already are on board with what we're saying. It's really important that you just talk to normal people in your life about this. Talk to real humans in the real world, not the people in your urbanist Discord server, not the people in the YouTube comments of your favorite urbanist YouTube channel. Go and actually talk to your siblings, your parents, your grandparents, your cousins, every
friends,
single person, your friends, your coworkers. Just bring it up, because I think people will get on board. Jen in the live chat says, "Hold on, we aren't normal." No, Jen, no.
Unfortunately,
no, we are not. We are normal amongst ourselves, and I think that's enough.
We try.
Yeah. Well, Ethan, do you want to take us away to the
Absolutely. Next story? So we may have a little bit of, we're starting it off with some news, but now we're going to go on to some transit news here. So I don't know if you gentlemen have heard about the wonderful Sepulveda line project in Los Angeles, but for those who do not know, the Sepulveda line is going to be an incredibly transformative project within Los Angeles. So this is a route that's going to run up through Sepulveda Pass, connecting western Los Angeles to the San Fernando Valley. And I will get a map up here really quick of that, just because, it's just just for wonderful viewing, for your viewing pleasure.
I want to
everybody.
see it. Come on.
Absolutely. We're working on it, folks.
As you pull that up, I just want to mention that the way this is spelt, I can't wait for people, tourists, to show up and they're like, yes, I'm looking for the Sepulveda line.
So
I'm sure
this is the
there will be a
planned
lot of
route.
Mispronunciations.
And if it looks familiar, it's because it shares a lot of its right-of-way with the 405 freeway. So yeah, this will connect to LA Metros. It will connect to the E line, the future extension of the D line, and the G line up here for easy connections. And this is going to be one of LA's biggest, most transformative metro projects. Now, one thing that's been really big about the Sepulveda line project is that they haven't decided what mode of transit to use. They've been arguing between heavy rail metro and monorail. Well, they had been for the past 5 or 10 years. But that decision has been made, and folks, they couldn't have gone with a better choice here. So, instead of going with the monorail option that many people wanted to do in the neighborhood that's being tunneled underneath, or would be tunneled underneath, because of rich opposition, all that fun NIMBY stuff that comes with transit, LA went with the actual reasonable approach. So they're actually going to be choosing the use of automated heavy rail metro for this design.
Oh, yeah.
So, fully automated system, which is going to be one of the first in the U.S., other than Hawaii, and not in North America either, because Montreal has the REM. So this is going to be
Vancouver SkyTrain.
And the SkyTrain, that's true, but that's light metro.
That's true.
This is heavy but at this point, it really doesn't make any distinction. But it is going to be super, super good for just transit in Los Angeles to have this heavy rail metro connection, because you're going to get that speed bonus, and you're also going to get huge capacity increases over the alternatives. So this is a huge project. It's going to be a very busy corridor. It's always been a busy corridor. The 405 freeway Anybody who lives in Los Angeles knows that it is always jam-packed pretty much every single day, and there's no way they can widen it because the pass that they use has pretty much been expanded to use all of the highway room. So it was either pay a shit ton of money to actually build some extra lanes, which, as we all know, doesn't solve traffic, or build the metro through there. So they went with the metro. They're going to be doing an automated metro build. They're currently deciding between two companies, Siemens Mobility and Stadler. So those two are going to fight it out for this contract, but it's still very exciting to see this level of infrastructure and this level of commitment to actually building really good transit in the U.S. and just North America in general. But what do you guys think about it? Do you think it's a huge win? Would you rather gone with the monorail?
I mean, I like the idea of heavy rail. That sounds fantastic. And the idea it's basically cutting, they're going to have to dig through a mountain, right?
Yeah, this is going to be an expensive project regardless.
But it's going to be a great ride. Just like, it seems like there's going to be a huge gap between stops because like there's not much going on there. This is like what is this called? North LA? Northwest LA?
So it's going
Westwood?
between West LA and the San Fernando Valley.
Yeah. See, I'm not super familiar with the geography, the topography.
This whole area that it's basically going through is mountains. Yeah. So it's connecting one of the densest areas of Los Angeles, and some of its higher, or what are going to be higher ridership lines once they're built out. Because if you can see on the map that I was showing earlier, I wish I could switch easily between the showing on here, but actually, yeah, let's get that map going again. We gotta love our maps here. I love my maps. I don't know if you guys love the maps.
Oh yeah.
I actually hate maps.
I would expect you to hate maps, Alex. But yeah, this purple line down here, this is the D line. This is being built out right now. This is the E line right now. It's light rail, and it's currently built out. And this is the G line, and it's a busway that's going to be converted into light rail. So it's quite a big project connecting a lot of different actual areas in the Los Angeles area. And it will be a very transformative project for the region just because it has that capacity. It's going to be able to alleviate traffic very heavily on that's very heavy on the 405, and just open up connections and make the opportunity to actually do trips car free.
Yeah, I love this. I'm super excited for it. Any transit project that connects large urban areas like this, because people are going to be mixing, right? And we've talked about it before with a variety of rail projects. Same thing with like Brightline between LA and Vegas, right? It's like, yeah, okay, like things like this make sense. Very disappointed that they didn't go with the monorail. I think monorail is the single best rail option in any circumstance ever. I don't understand why not every project isn't monorail. It doesn't make any sense to me, but I guess I'm not an expert, so they don't listen to me, but I'm sending emails all the time saying, hey, when's the Montreal monorail coming? When's the Calgary monorail coming? But they haven't gone with it yet. I'm still holding out hope that the Brightline West will be a monorail from LA to Vegas. Oh, that'd be funny.
Yes, Jen. Alex is in fact Lyle Langley.
Yeah, Jen says you just want to sing the monorail song from The Simpsons. It's true. It's true. Yeah, Jen says, I want a high-speed train that takes me from LAX or SNA to Disneyland. Yes, I like handing the House of Mouse all my money. Ha ha. Well, actually, I'm surprised that doesn't already exist.
There are actual connections from Metrolink to Disneyland that you can take by bus. So you can get off at the Anaheim train station and take a bus directly to the House of Mouse.
But of course, we've said it before, and we'll say it again. Trains are better than buses.
Many people are saying this, folks.
Many people are saying this. People are saying this.
This is, in fact, a very popular thing on the show, is that buses do suck, and Alex would agree with this heavily.
I don't agree with that. I do love buses. But there's something about a train that just makes people feel inclined to take it.
Especially a monorail.
Right? Like, isn't that interesting, though? Like, people love taking trains, but you tell them, oh, just take the bus, and it's kind of like, I don't know about that.
We
Yeah,
get stuck in
there's a different
traffic.
attitude.
That's why.
Well,
Yeah.
even if you
Actually,
don't,
that's
even if
probably
you,
right. That's probably right.
even if you bring up BRT, a lot of people are still very apprehensive about the idea. Now,
Yeah,
granted,
totally.
there
Yeah.
are projects that are very successful. I just showed you a corridor, LA Metro's G line, but even then, the G line is probably going to be converted to light rail sometime around, I believe, 2040. But it has an issue right now, and that is too much capacity. They'll run buses every 5 minutes during rush hour or better, and still they'll just be crush loaded.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah, it's quite
Wow.
it's quite the corridor.
Time to expand.
Yeah. Yeah, that's super busy. I mean, good problem to have.
Oh, you can never complain about that problem.
Yeah. Yeah, remember, like, the more people that use a transit service, the better that transit service gets. So,
Exactly.
yeah, that's good news. Well, this is an exciting project. What's the ETA on this? When are we...
I believe that they're looking. We're still a while out on this one. I believe it's going to break ground sometime in the 2030s? Question mark.
Oh, I'm looking at the article you shared. Following the completion of environmental reviews and Metro's selection of its preferred plans, construction on this project is expected to begin in 2027, ahead of the opening of a new rail service between 2033 and 2035.
Regardless,
Not bad.
That's a pretty decent timetable.
Yeah.
And I
that's
mean,
not,
with this being one of the K Line North extension that'll eventually happen, and some of the other extensions that are happening, like the airport connection and the D line, LA is very much priming itself to be a very good transit city.
About time. Let's go.
Yeah. Austin said in the chat, can't wait to visit LA again in the 2030s when it actually becomes a developed city with freedom to choose how to get around the city. Seriously. Yeah.
No, seriously, actually, it's come so far just since its first line.
Yeah.
The whole
Yeah.
LA rail transit network did not exist in 1989. And now
Yeah.
it consists of multiple different lines running throughout the city and 2 different agencies.
There's some good stuff happening, and maybe people can take a little optimism from
Absolutely.
that and look forward.
There
Yeah.
are some cities that are doing some really good stuff, both in the U.S. and Canada. Surprisingly, mostly towards the western half of the country, but there's still a lot of good stuff happening.
Yeah. Well, should we get on to the listener mail?
I think
Yeah.
we should.
All right. Listener mail. It's time for the listener mail. There, I did our jingle that hasn't been seen in several episodes. Our first listener mail here comes from Cody Littlefield, and this is in reference to the Green Line in Calgary, which we were talking about last week. And before I get into this comment too, I'll mention that you should check out Unsprawling. Biz just did an interview podcast with Willem Klumpenhauer, who is he has a PhD in transit or something. He's a smart guy, and so I highly recommend you check that out. He talks a little bit about the Green Line and the situation we find ourselves in. But Cody says the ridership of this new Phase 1 is going to be abysmal. There are barely any people living near Linwood Milliken, nobody living and barely anyone working at Highfield. So it's basically going to be built to bring very few people into downtown and the area Inglewood, or people from downtown out to places they generally don't go, anywhere past 26th Ave, unless they have to for something specific. If you look at population density maps, the north along Center Street would have served so many more people than this new Phase 1. I'm really nervous about the future of the Green Line. I'd be surprised if it ever goes north. Well, Cody, I've got great news for you. I'm very confident it will go all the way north. Most of Calgary's lines have started out small like this. Both the red line and the blue line have started out small like this and slowly, incrementally grown over time. So I wouldn't be that worried about it. This green line has a lot of political will behind it. And so we've just got to keep pushing for it and keep promoting for it. We're pretty optimistic, actually. A few of us are pretty optimistic that we'll be able to get more funding for the green line before phase 1 is even done. So by the time phase 1 is done, we'll be hopefully starting on the next and continuing to expand it out. So I'm optimistic. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on this. This is a Calgary thing, but if you have any thoughts based on what we've talked about before, I'd love to hear it.
I mean, all you have to do really in this case to at least stopgap this and, make sure that there's ridership regardless of if people are living around the stations or not is good bus connections. As much as, we hate buses on the show, we hate nothing more than a bus. People are very, very willing to ride the bus to the train to their final destination or train to bus to final destination. It's not that big of a deal if the line isn't serving a super transit dense area, or a super, dense area population wise. If you can connect that through last mile bus connections, you can make it worthwhile, and then eventually, you can keep expanding onto that success.
Yeah, I think that's a big help. Nick, do you have any thoughts?
Exactly what Ethan said. Yeah, right on there.
Yeah. I think Ethan's right on that, and I do agree that the North Center Street is a huge, important line, but also that's not where the depot for the trains were. So that was a kind of complicated decision that was made. This is the first step of many. But I'd be more optimistic. I'd give that interview that Biz did with Willem a listen. It was pretty insightful on where we're actually headed with the green line. Nick, do you want to take this next comment from Skitch?
Yes. What is one thing your city could do to make it easier, more pleasant, or more convenient to walk? For me, it would be adding more raised crosswalks or leading pedestrian intervals to intersections. Drivers constantly block crosswalks everywhere in my downtown, which raised crosswalks would help, or try to make turns when pedestrians are crossing streets, which leading pedestrian intervals would help. Love the show and each of your channels. Keep up the amazing work. Thank you for such a nice email. Thank you. We like to be flattered. Usually it's Alex flattering the two of us, and then Ethan tries to reciprocate, and I just don't know what to say. But anyway, thank you. I'm going to start because I did complain about something. I think last week I talked about this. It's that we have the concept of the unmarked crosswalk in Vancouver. I have problems with this all the time. Did I talk about that guy who yelled at me, said it was not a thing? Did I talk about that last week? Okay, I'm not going to go over that. But 2 days ago.
Go watch last week's episode.
Yeah, 2 days ago, I was crossing near my house, another unmarked crosswalk. It's a really bad one. It's along a 4-lane road, high-speed traffic, and always trying to cross there's a nightmare because it's always, mismatch. It's hard to find timing to cross the street. And again, like I said last week, I'm a pretty aggressive pedestrian. I just start walking, and I expect you to stop. If you hit me, I don't have that much to lose, okay? I could die a martyr. That'd be one of my greatest achievements in life, maybe. Who knows? But anyway, there was cars coming far away, like almost 3 blocks away, coming speeding down. It's a 50-kilometer-per-hour street. People are probably going at 60, close to 70. And this one truck just flying right towards me. I just stare him down as I'm walking slowly. Not slowly, but just like a regular pace. And he just buzzes right by me as I just get to the side of the street. And it's that, drivers don't seem to not know, and they think that I shouldn't be there. And they think I'm jaywalking, right? And 2, that they feel like there's so much in right that they're almost willing to drive somebody down in the street because they think they're right, which is terrible. Let's just put some goddamn paint on the street, especially on like the major streets. There should not be an unmarked crosswalk. If it's a local street in the neighborhood, I get it. It's totally fine. But like not on major streets. In Vancouver, that's all we need. We don't even, I want the raised crosswalks. We have some leading pedestrian intervals, but just put some paint down. Because drivers don't know. They don't know that an unmarked crosswalk is the thing. They don't know feet first. So if you put a sign there and you put down some paint, at least you'll get some respect.
Hopefully. But man, the way you describe Vancouverites, I just think, boy, I'm glad I live in Calgary where people are actually decent.
It's not everybody.
No. But I generally find people here to be pretty good. But I do think, to Skitch's question about what is one thing your city could do to make it easier, more pleasant, or more convenient to walk, I think one of the biggest things would be having the bump outs, having the extended curbs at the crosswalks, and a big one is at the mid-block crossings, because those often get missed. There's a neighborhood in Calgary. It's called Curry, and it's a nice neighborhood, and it's done up real nice to be pleasant and walkable. They've got some pretty wide sidewalks there, but they do have a major issue with the mid-block crossings. I won't say major issue, but I'll pull up on the map here and share my screen so you can see where I'm talking about. So I'm talking about these extended curbs here. See, this car here is forced to park away from this crosswalk, right? So where you can cross here, this car is forced to park away from there because of the way the curb is extended out. Same thing on the other side here. These are often found on the corners because that's often where people think about them. You can see it here and you can see it here, but then here and here you see there's a crosswalk here, but these cars are parked right up to the crossing. So if a car is coming nearby, it's hard to get that proper visibility for the safety of the pedestrians crossing, especially if it's a little kid crossing, right? And so I think this is a really important thing that we're often missing. A simple solution, just add the curb extension here at the mid-block.
What about the parking,
crossing.
Alex? You're going to take away valuable parking space. Look, there's barely anything there.
I mean, look at the parking. You've got 3, 4, 5-ish. That's kind of a ghosty car there. You've got 5 cars parked, and if you took away that space, you'd have room for 10 cars. So I think we're pretty safe. And listen, I get it. You want somewhere to park your car. Dead kids are not worth the price. So
I think they are.
Yeah. Well, okay. Okay. You heard it here first, folks. Ethan admits to being a horrible human being. Yeah. So I think that's a simple thing that we can start implementing in our built environment. What about you, Ethan? What do you think?
So I have a different thought process on this one just a little bit. I know that you guys are mainly looking at the actual street design. This one honestly kind of leads us into our next listener mail, but I think street trees are super important, or just shade in general. Any sort of shade trees, or putting solar shade up as well too, where you could use that to power buildings in more dense areas. But I think that, especially living in the Southwest, with our brutal summer that is hopefully, fingers crossed, coming to an end soon, that it is incredibly vital and important for it to happen in our cities. Especially, I know Skitch is from Arizona, so they know that it's brutal out here in summertime, and that sun is unrelenting. So providing shade for people is massively important. On top of that, street trees are really good for traffic calming. So you add those two things together, you add shade, and then you add some natural traffic calming to the streets, and you have a recipe for a really good combination of, not a total solution, because there's never a total solution to traffic calming, but you have a really good one that is kind of a 1-2 punch in supporting pedestrians and slowing down cars. So that's really what I'm saying, is that in Vegas, we need street trees for our pedestrians. And a lot of people like to think, oh, desert, there's no trees that are water, drought resistant. We have some really great ones out here that actually do really well in the, drought stricken areas, like cottonwoods.
Yeah, so supporting things like that, supporting, again, the built environment, like what we're choosing to put in our spaces, it makes a huge difference. There's a few areas, and you're right, Ethan. This does kind of get into the next one here. this having nice, pleasant places to walk.
Absolutely.
Yeah, having a good tree canopy, it makes a huge difference. And there's a few streets in my neighborhood that have like a really nice tree canopy.
And people love it.
Yeah, people love it, and I intentionally when I'm walking somewhere, I intentionally use the route with the best tree canopy. Even if it's maybe a block longer, I choose to take that way because it's more comfortable.
When I used to live in Florida, there's this street, and it was probably about a quarter mile long, but it was on my bike commute, and it was a little bit off my bike commute, and it's called Magnolia Avenue, and it was like a quarter or a third of a mile long street, just lined with these lush magnolia canopy trees, and every so often I would just do the detour down it because not only was it somewhat traffic calmed because of the trees, it was just a pleasant ride to do. It's just nice, and I really wish our cities had more streets like that.
Someday. Well, this next one here, Ethan, if you want to take this.
All right, this one comes from friend of the show, Jen Hall, and she asks, if you could instantly plant a mature tree canopy on one street in your city, what street would you choose?
I like this. This is great.
It's a great one.
Yeah, for me, it would be Arbutus Corridor. And for the main reason is because this is actually a great cycling route. This is a rails to trail conversion, the Arbutus Greenway. I'm just showing an image of this here. If you're watching on YouTube, you can probably see. But it's a beautiful corridor, but much of it is treeless. There's no coverage at all, which, one, you don't get the shade when it's really sunny, but two, it gets very windy through here, especially this corridor I'm showing right now, which is just south of 16th Avenue in Vancouver. And as much as I love this bike route, it's fantastic. Yeah, the tree coverage would be really nice to have here. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, for those who can see it on YouTube, it's a really well used bike corridor, and I mean, just putting in some shade trees. Obviously, old growth trees are going to take a while to set in and actually provide the shade.
Yeah.
But just having that would be really nice, or just having some sort of, I'm sure they probably exist on the trail, but like little rest stops with like benches and water.
There needs to be more. They're updating it soon, or they're supposed to be. But yeah, it's showing its age. It's not with the times anymore.
Yeah. What about you, Ethan?
So there is a wonderful street nearby me in Henderson, Nevada, called Water Street, and it's kind of like, it's basically the main downtown area of Henderson, Nevada, which is one of the suburbs of Las Vegas. And this one main street it's just a 2-lane street with loads of businesses and casinos on it. It's kind of like a very, very calm locals version of Las Vegas Boulevard, but it would do really, really nice with some street trees that could do some traffic calming, provide a bit of shade, and really just make the street look even nicer than it already is. You could even use them to highlight some of the neon and flashy signs that exist on the street, and it would really add a nice touch to the city, and really bring out some of the more lush greenery that we're really lacking out here because this is the desert. So
the desert.
Gotta love it.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Hey, did you guys know I live in the desert? I don't think I made that clear.
Did you guys hear? Ethan lives
By
in the
the way.
desert. Many people are saying
Many
people.
No, not enough people are saying this.
So for me, I would choose 17th Avenue. This is kind of the place where people hang out in the summer. And go shopping and grab a bite to eat at a lot of different restaurants along here. You can see in the summer patios get extended onto the sidewalk, and then the sidewalk gets kind of this detour taking up one of the lanes of traffic here. And it's really pretty. Like the temporary planters and things that they do here are really fantastic, but it gets hot down there. And if you were to put a really nice tree canopy over this whole thing, that would just be fantastic, especially when it does get super, super hot. I think that's something we would all be happy to enjoy. So that's gonna be my pick is 17th Avenue. And Jen here in the live chat says, I like to joke when walking with friends that I like the tree covered routes because I'm a shady lady. I think that's pretty funny. And so I like the shaded roots as well. I just want to make mention that if you want to send in some listener mail, you can comment on the YouTube channel. We read some of it here, especially if you've got questions or some valuable insights for a particular story that we're chatting about. We always appreciate those. Or if you have a story from your own city, we like hearing those stories because, of course, we hear most about what's going on in our own little bubbles. We like to break out of that sometimes and hear other people's thoughts.
Give us some interesting city news.
Please,
we need it.
Please, no essays, though.
Yeah, that's true.
No essays. I work 2 jobs, and Nick works 3, and Ethan works 4. So, we're
combined working
here,
27 jobs here, folks. We can only read in 280 characters.
Do you know when I was a kid, when I was growing up, my dad would regularly tell me, he'd say, I had 3 jobs at your age, and I was like 10. And I don't think he actually had 3 jobs. He just exaggerates. But whatever he could do to get me out of the house and working, I guess. Kids yearn for the mines. At least the Minecraft is what I like to say. I never say that, actually. But
it's like, Alex, that's like your Pokemon go to the polls moment right there.
Yeah.
One and done. I said that once.
Yeah, I will never say that again. I'm sorry. That was embarrassing. This is my public apology immediately following my embarrassing gaffe. Anyway, Austin says, gotta earn those Robux. I don't fully understand what Roblox is. I feel like it's like Zoomer Minecraft.
It's like a metaverse.
Yeah. Okay. Is it?
It's like a Minecraft metaverse. People can make their own games and stuff. My nephew plays it quite a bit. He showed me around.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm super out of touch. Anyways, Skibbity Toilet Ohio Riz, Austin says, I really appreciate that valuable insight you've brought to the show, Austin.
Bet, Austin.
If you want to join the live chat here and hear all the horrible things we say before we cut them out, you can go to patreon.com/radiofreeurbanism and be disappointed when you realize we don't do any editing to this podcast at all. So, thanks for joining us today, guys.
Nick, don't we have one more thing?
Oh, yeah.
Do we have one more? Oh, yeah, we got one more thing. I was gonna close us out.
This is slightly off topic, but it is on topic in some way. So, shameless plug, my recent series about the Netherlands has gotten lots of traction, mainly from the Dutch people. So I've got lots of comments about them, adding to it. I've learned some stuff from what they've commented, but I've gotten a lot of comments, even emails. I've had people email me offering to help me with my pronunciation of Dutch city names. And it's just like baffling to me. And the one that has really stuck out, they said, I hate it when Americans can't even be bothered to learn the proper pronunciation of cities they visit. And first of all, I'm not American, and I'm not one of those people who's like, oh, I'm not American, I'm Canadian. I don't care. But I'm like, what? Wait a minute, what? Nobody does that. You know why? Because you sound pretentious if you do that. Like when I'm talking about Japan, I don't say Nihon. I don't say Tokyo or Kyoto, Osaka. Oh, I'm going to Osaka. You sound ridiculous, first of all. Okay. Second of all, Dutch is really hard to pronounce. Okay, my brain is not tuned into that, so it just doesn't work. Anyway, do you guys think I'm being ridiculous here? Do you think it's?
I have thought about this sort of thing a lot, actually, and I don't think you're being ridiculous. I have friends and siblings. Like I have siblings who have their names pronounced wrong by people who have accents. And that's not offensive, it's not offensive to pronounce something differently. If I'm speaking French, I'm not going to say Montreal, right? But if I'm speaking English, I'm not going to be like, oh, Montreal. Yeah. Right? Like it's like I'm saying the word in English.
Yeah.
And that's okay. If you were speaking Japanese, you wouldn't be like, oh yes, in Japanese I'm going to Osaka.
Yeah.
Like you would, right? Like, I think people are a little more worried, and I think like maybe my perspective of that comes from being Canadian and living in a very like multicultural society and hearing people pronounce all sorts of things, all sorts of ways. And the bottom line of it is that you're understood.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
If I know what you're talking about when you say Utrecht, then I know what you're talking about when you say Utrecht, right? Like that's the point of language.
Absolutely.
Is
we're trying to communicate
like
here.
I'm a descriptionist, not a prescriptionist when it comes to language. If I know what you're saying, if you are communicating with me and the words you say make it into my brain and I know what you mean, I'm not going to come back and be like, well, actually, I pronounce Calgary, not Calgary.
Just it's
Right?
a bit too pedantic, right?
Yeah,
I think, I think in this case, why it's blown up in my comments so much is because there is a town called Gouda, and that's how we in North
Right.
America
Yeah.
and a lot of places in the world say it is Gouda. When I
Yeah.
say talk about Gouda
Yeah.
cheese, in the UK, I think they say Gouda, and in the Netherlands, it's Gouda, right? So
Right.
it's so different. Gouda and Gouda, it sounds ridiculous, I'm sure, to them from hearing it, and that's
Yeah.
what's the one that has really stuck out. But still, I'm just like, it's different.
But you do like, yeah. I like Jen says in the chat, makes me think of the city Melbourne, Australia. Locals say Melbourne. And if I'm chatting with somebody and I say, oh yeah, I'm going to Melbourne, people would be like,
Where?
oh, where's that?
Melbourne.
Like even though when an Australian person says, oh, I'm from Melbourne, it's like, oh, I know what you're saying because it fits with your accent. But if a Canadian person says, oh, I'm going to Melbourne, it's like you just sound like an ass.
yeah.
Like you're going to Melbourne, Australia.
yeah.
Like it's
Right.
it's so pedantic. It's like Toronto versus Toronto, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like maybe, we're not here to hurt anybody's feelings, but it's not as big of a deal as I think some people make it out to
I'm just
be.
happy to be validated in my little echo chamber here.
Yeah, it is an echo chamber, and again, like, yeah, or
Missouri.
Austin says Norfolk, Virginia, not Norfolk.
Norfolk. Yeah.
That's yeah. So yeah, I think people pronounce things different ways, and that's okay. I want to validate your feelings there, Nick.
Thank you.
That's a fun
That's
one there that
okay.
Austin said. Because
Yeah.
that's three different cities combined together, so you just say the one that you're not in. You just, if you want to piss them off, you just say, "Oh, Newport News. Oh, Virginia Beach." You know?
Okay, you know what actually grinds my gears though? That Kansas City is in Missouri. What the
There's
hell?
two Kansas cities.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
The main
Come on,
one is
guys.
in Missouri.
Kansas,
Just move
and
that
Kansas
border
City,
over
Missouri.
and put it where it belongs.
Hey, well, Fort Saskatchewan is in Alberta,
That's true.
so
They need to fix
you
that
know,
too.
they need to fix that. Should we move the city or change the name? What
I
do
think
you
they
think?
should move the border.
Just dip
Yeah.
in.
There's Michigan City that's in Indiana,
Oh my god.
right on the border with
That's too
Michigan.
much.
Yeah.
I'm gonna rename the city of Calgary to Prince Edward Island.
Just to confuse everybody.
Actually,
Jill
we're gonna
Doty
call
family,
it.
Yes. My favorite's fucking.
We're gonna call it Prince Edward Island, United States of America, south of Mexico, Alberta.
Austin says Baja California is in Mexico. Well, there's actually two Baja Californias. There's Baja California and Baja California Sur.
Oh.
So there's actually three Californias.
We just need to be more creative with our names, especially in North America, especially in Canada when you're talking about the East Coast and on Ontario. My God, there's London, there's Paris, Woodstock, like Hamilton,
See,
Waterloo.
in Ontario, they just decided to take the full name. In the U.S., we just decided to add in new
New,
for
yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
So there's New
So-
London, New York City, New Haven.
So I've been to Paris, Tennessee before. Have you ever checked
No.
that out? It's worth a look. I went and my niece they have a like a Eiffel Tower.
Really?
They have one in Paris,
Yeah.
Texas, too.
Yeah.
They have one in
let me
Las
find-
Vegas too. If you guys want to see
I've
the
seen that one.
the 2-to-1
Yeah,
scale
I've seen that
Eiffel
one, too.
Tower.
So I've been to the Eiffel Tower twice. Once in Paris, Tennessee. Once in Vegas. And never in France. So, but I mean, you seen one, you seen them all. Am I right, boys?
Yeah,
True.
pretty much.
Come on.
Like you got there,
Yeah,
you're like,
but,
yeah, it's a tower.
I'm trying to find it. They have like there's like a playground at their thing, Eiffel Tower. Here we go. Let me try and pull
Which
up,
which Paris is this one?
Paris,
Oh,
Tennessee.
Tennessee.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So
Oh yeah,
I know the
that's-
Paris, Texas is the iconic one, but this one's also.
let me here. I'll pull up the
Look
thing.
at that, the real Eiffel Tower.
Yeah.
There it is.
Look at
Hey,
that.
There it is.
Yeah. Do you think we've offended enough people
I hope so.
today?
I hope we
Yeah,
keep it up.
I'm optimistic about it. Jen also mentions Vulcan, Alberta wins for having a unique name. Also, great tourism. I love Vulcan, Alberta.
Not the only city named after a TV show or movie.
Actually, it was named after the god Vulcan.
Oh, interesting.
But then because they had because there was the planet Vulcan in Star Trek, they were like, great opportunity for tourism. So they're just like, yeah, we're gonna be the Star Trek town now. So here, I'll show you on the map here, Vulcan, Alberta. Here we go. So this is Vulcan, Alberta.
There it is.
Yeah.
It's near
see
it's near
just-
something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's close-ish to Calgary. And here, let's just take a little quick look-see-do down here.
Looks
So-
great. Yeah.
I ate at
Yep.
the Subway once. We went camping and we grabbed dinner at the Subway and then watched Spider-Man on the little portable DVD player. But if you look, their street lamps are all
Oh my god.
they're all little enterprises. They put
Oh
the
my
nacelles
gosh.
on there. And then this is like the tourism center, which I think last time I was there, it was closed. Like it was like shut down. But
And a gift
yeah, it's pretty
shop.
cool. Yeah. Oh, and they have like this. They have a monument over here. So they have the Enterprise here, and whatever this flower solar panel thing is. But here they have a little message. They have a message written in Vulcan, one in Klingon, and I think they have a couple other languages. But yeah, Klingon Way. That's the name of this street. Is Klingon Way. Yeah, so it's
It's very
cool.
underwhelming, but yes, that is interesting.
hey, do you know what? It's worth a look.
It's worth getting
a
out
look.
of your car on the
Yeah.
road trip for half an
Yeah,
hour.
if you're passing through, you might stop.
Yeah, you can get like the little Vulcan ears at the gas station and stuff. Yeah. Austin says he rode his bike to Vulcan once. Of course, Austin would do that. But do we have any other thoughts? Any other things we want to get off our chest about the way people say things?
No, I think I've beat that dead horse.
I
It's
think
over.
we have
gotta-
to.
I feel better.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah. Ethan, do you want to wrap us up?
Folks, you can find me over at Climate in Transit on any social media platforms. Alex, where can we find you?
Oh my goodness, really threw me for a loop there. I can be found at Humane Cities on YouTube and Instagram. What about you, Nick?
You can find me at Nick Laporte or Nick the Door, depending on where you're looking. Just search it. But hey, if you're watching this right now, listening, subscribe to Climate and Transit, and subscribe to Humane Cities, especially Humane Cities.
Well,
he needs the love.
You have to think
Well,
about
you
that.
also got to subscribe
I mean-
to Nick Laporte and also Humane Cities.
Yeah, and I just want to say don't subscribe to either of them because they've already reached 10,000 subscribers. I'm nearing 4,000, so I just, I need some love to get me to make some more videos here. I'm just feeling really sad.
Oh my
and
gosh,
depressed, and
look
the
at
only thing
Alex
to cure that
begging
depression-
for more views. You heard it here first,
Hey,
folks.
no. If you subscribe to me, I'll subscribe to you.
1 for 1.
1 for 1. Come on, guys. Come on. Yeah, I promise I am actually working on a few videos.
He is
Just
working on
one
a
of the
few.
ones you'll see when it comes out. It is actually like a pretty big thing. I had to do a lot of math for it, so I've been working with a big
This
spreadsheet.
nerd
and-
doing math.
He's got a
Yeah,
novelty-sized calculator.
it'll
Got the TI-84 on the desk.
Yeah.
yeah. So this was fun. This was fun. Ethan.
What? Oh, yes, that's right. Folks, thank you so much for watching this show. Once again, if you want to tune in live, also thanks for our live audience here, but if you want to join them, you can go and follow us over on Patreon. For just $1 a month, you can be here in the live, and if you can't make the live, then congratulations. You'll still get access to the videos early, and you'll get access to our Discord. Folks, thank you so much for watching this week's episode. It really is always a pleasure. As always, train good, car bad.
2 wheels good.
And most importantly, feet first.